When I thought about doing this, I was doing a training probably, or not a training, I was doing a podcast about 2 months ago. And the interviewer asked me and they said, Jared, what do you think agents need to do in January to have a great 2023? And I said, the first thing they need to do is not wait until January. Our business is cyclical. The things we do right now is what's going to show up in the new year. And this whole reactive thing that a lot of us are doing with our businesses, it might have worked, during the fool's gold market that we operated in the last 3 to 5 years, but it will not work now. Okay. Now it's a pros market. Okay. Now it is a market, where you've got to really look at, what you're doing now, because it's going to show up in 2 months, 3 months, in the coming year, when so many people right now are taking a break, when so many people are walking into Target and there's Christmas decorations and Christmas music and hot chocolate and pumpkin spice lattes and all of these kinds of things. How do you stay focused now for the coming year? Okay. I want you guys to remember, I've been saying this all year long. The market's not crazy. We've got to stop saying that the market's crazy. The market is not crazy. Okay. I don't know if you guys have ever been in a relationship with someone crazy. It doesn't work out well, and they're not controllable, right? Everywhere you go, you're trying to get them under control and tell them, don't talk about this and please don't act crazy, whatever. They're not controllable. So when we say the market is crazy, what we're telling our marketplace, what we're telling our consumers is that we have no control over it. And so why would they pay you if that's the case, right? The market's not crazy. It's competitive. It's complex. It's complicated, but that's why they need you. And that's what I want you to keep reminding yourself. It's competitive. It's complex. It's complicated, but that's why they need you. That's why they need a pro. It is a pros market. That's what we're heading into now. And a lot of you, that should make you really happy, okay? One thing we learned during COVID over the last few years was, hey, when everything went crazy, make sure that you don't. When everyone went crazy, when everything went crazy, you need to make sure that you don't, because our industry right now needs an adult in the room. Every business needs an adult in the room. And you have to decide now whether you're that adult or whether you're going to act like everybody else, if you're going to freak out like everyone else. I was joking around at an event I was at recently, and I said, we're such a reactionary market. It's we live in a world right now where every time we get the sniffles, we jump on WebMD to figure out how many weeks we have left to live. That's the world we live in. It's like, hey, when you get out of the pool, are you still wet? And you're like, yeah. When you wake up in the morning, are you still a little tired? Yeah. Then you might have 3 weeks to live. And it's that kind of a world. And yet we need an adult in the room, and you need to be the adult in the room in your marketplace, because they need you to kind of cut through the nonsense of what they're hearing on the news, or what, their friends are telling them, or they heard from someone, or they read somewhere. You're the pro. You operate every day in this exact market. And does that mean denying that there's been a shift? No. Does that mean denying that there's been a slowdown? No. But it means speaking reality, not always going from one extreme to the other, because like most things, usually the truth falls somewhere in between those two different extremes, and you need to be the one that's speaking that truth, okay? And for anybody wondering, because people always ask, that is nothing but hot tea in that Yeti, okay? I did a training recently, and they had a poll going on what's in the Yeti, and it's not as exciting as you would like it to be. It is literally hot tea with no sugar, no honey, just hot tea, just good for the voice, right? Because we need this voice to keep going, right? So guys, there's no such thing as a good market or a bad market, right? There's just the market we're in and what you do with it. What separates me from so many people you listen to or you watch within this industry is that I sold a crap ton of real estate, okay? And my best year ever was 2008. The time when everybody thought it was chaos, the time when everybody thought everything was falling apart. That was my best year ever, okay? And so why is that? Because I didn't believe in a good market or a bad market. I believed the market I was in and what I did with it. And that's where we find ourselves once again. And yet a lot of you right now, as we're looking at business planning for the coming year, you're like, you know what? Here's what I want to do in 2023. And what I want to remind you guys is what I remind you of every single year, okay? Which is that you'll never get what you want in the coming year. You'll never get what you want in 2023. We get what we're committed to and we plan for. That's it. It's never what we want. It's what we're committed to and we plan for. And that's why we do the boring work of business planning. And, when I go over my 4 different things I want to cover, the first one's the most boring. It's the numbers, it's the benchmarks, right? And yet it's one of the most important things we're going to do, okay? Because we never get, you need to remember this, you never get what you want in the coming year. You never get what you want in 2023. You'll get what you are committed to and you plan for, right? What if you sat down with your coach and said, here's the plan, here's how we get here, now hold me accountable, let's stay consistent? Because what is consistency, guys? I've said it all over the world this last year. Consistency is undefeated. Consistency is undefeated. Just like Father Time, consistency is undefeated. You're going to hear that over and over and over again. And I want you to remember that right now, I said this to my son the other day. I put it up on Instagram and I said, hey, everyone's motivated when they aren't tired. Okay. Everyone's motivated when they aren't tired. I'm not, impressed when somebody goes and runs a Tough Mudder. I'm not impressed when someone goes and runs a marathon. I'm impressed when 5 years from now, they're still running 3 miles every other day. That's impressive. And I said this to my son because it was the night before of something we were going to do. And he told me, he said, tomorrow, Dad, I want to go to the gym with you. I said, do you really? I said, you're going to get up in the morning. He said, yeah. I said, all right, you sure? What time should I get you up? And he told me. So that next morning, I went and woke him up. And what do you think he did? Any of you have teenagers? Sat there and he's like, no. It's like I was the bad guy. It was like when you call a lead and they act like you're cold calling them, like as if they didn't fill out the form, right? And he's like, Dad, come on, leave me alone. Leave me alone. I'm like, Bud, you said you wanted to go to the gym this morning. And he's like, no. He's like, I'm tired now. I'm tired. And I said, buddy, everyone's motivated when they're not tired. This is what separates winners from everyone else. Everyone's motivated when you're not tired. And I made him. I said, buddy, look, I'm still bigger than you. We can do this the easy way or the real easy way, okay? You can get up and we can go, or I can make you go. Which one do you want to do? So he gets up and he, trudges along and gets into the gym. We go work out. We hit the sauna. We're walking out of the gym just full of sweat because we just got out of the sauna. And he looks over at me and he goes, thanks, Dad. I said, what do you mean? He goes, thanks for making me come here. He goes, I feel amazing now. I'm so glad I did this. And I said, Bud, everybody's motivated when they're not tired. You remember this feeling right here? This is what 99% of people don't get to experience because they are beholden to their feelings. They're beholden to being tired. They are a prisoner to that's not how winners do it, guys. That's not how people heading into this market that we're heading into now are going to do it. Everyone's motivated when they're not tired. Which one are you going to be? It's really that simple, okay? And I want you to remember too, as we start to look at the 4 things we want to focus on this year, we are in a time of imagination. Like we need to start to think, we need to be creative. And I want you to remember that everything is always created twice, okay? It's created up here and then it's created out here, okay? Everything is created twice. It's created in your head and then it's created out in the natural, physical, you actually following through on what it is that you want to do. That's when you actually get to work. And so right now, what we're going to do is we're going to create it up here. We're going to create where the focus needs to be and what you need to be doing. And, we're going to do that all right there. But where you all need to get to is you need to get to the place where we're doing it on a regular basis, where we're doing the physical side. We're not just thinking about it. We're not just dreaming about it, right? I said years ago, I don't want to be known as a dreamer. Dreamers are asleep with drool coming out of their mouth, right? I want to be a doer, okay? And so everything always happens twice, once up here and then once out here in the physical. What you have to determine is, are you going to hear it? And then are you ultimately going to do it, okay? So with that being said, guys, we're going to talk about 4 things. I'm going to say one more time to you, if you're just tuning in right now, make sure, like this, comment below, let us know where you're coming in from. I always go and check these out later. I love to see all the places people came in from. And do me a favor, hit that share, share, hit that share button. Let's share this with as many people as we can. We also launched a contest where we're giving away 2 tickets to the 2023 Jared James Advance. All you have to do is go to my Instagram, Jared James Today. Make sure you like that photo where I talk about going live with you guys. Comment below on that one as well. And extra credit if you share that too. But let's get going. I wanna say as we cover these 4 guys, I heard an amazing story and I loved it. Don't be afraid to do something new. This new market we're in is going to require something new. I heard this story of Henry Ford. And Henry Ford, back when obviously he was, building and running Ford, had to hire for a very key position. and he was down to 2 candidates. And the way that he selected which candidate he was going to go with is that he took them both for a steak dinner. He took them both for a steak dinner, and then after that dinner, he made his decision. He told them who he was going to hire. And the next day, the person he didn't hire came up to him and said, "Hey, I'm just curious. Like, I thought everything went well. We had great rapport. Everything was going good. I was really knowledgeable. Why'd you go with the other person? Like, I need to know what's up." And he said, "It's actually very simple." He said, "When they brought the steak out," he said, "before you even tasted the steak, you put salt on your steak. The other person tasted it first and then decided what to do." And he said, "What that showed me was that you've already got your mind made up and you don't like to try new things. Whereas the other person said, let me give it a shot and then we'll make adjustments from there." And I thought that was such a great story because it really tells the story of where we are now. Some of you are stuck in what it is that you're doing, and you're pouring the salt on before you actually taste the steak. And what I'm telling you is the market we're in right now, some of you need to make some adjustments. Some of you need to try something new. Some of you need to try and not be afraid of failing. Some of you just need to do some new stuff, okay? And so we're going to talk about that. So with that being said, first thing I want to talk to you guys about today is probably the most boring part of what we're going to do, but probably the one that matters the most. We do this every single year. I'm going to spend about 3 to 5 minutes on this, and then I'm going to get into specific strategy for this year that goes beyond this. But the first one is, and I've got slides here you guys will get a copy of as well, but first one is we need to get clear on the benchmarks that matter, right? I'll be talking about this 40 years from now when I'm talking about business planning, right? We have to get clear on the benchmarks that matter. On that business plan that you guys can download, you all got this. It's a similar one every single year. And what it is it's basically a digital plan that goes over the numbers that actually matter, okay? And what I mean by that is I'm a big believer that you can either assess where you are now or regret where you end later. You assess where you are now or regret where you end later. It's never the results in anything that matter. It's what happened prior to the results that made those results happen, right? It's never the game, it's the practice, right? When I'm watching Steph Curry drain threes or free throws or whatever, he didn't just step out there and decide to do it. It was all of the practice that led up to it. How many times have you guys heard me say, if you focus on results, you'll get frustration. But if you focus on process, you'll get results, right? It's about process and results. The problem with focusing on results is many times they're not anything that you have any control over. They change. They're not predictable. But process you do. I don't always have control over my weight. There could be water weight. There can be, you ate something with salt. There could be all these different things that happen. But I have control over whether I go to the gym today. I have control over whether I eat that particular bad type of food. Process. It's what's called lead measures and lag measures, right? Lag measures are results. Lead measures are the things that lead to it. So while it's important to understand how many transactions you want to do, what we're going to focus on is the lead measure, the process, the appointments, the conversations. And every one of you needs to do this individually for yourself, okay? What does that mean? That means you're all going to get a copy of this digital plan. It's in that link that is in the Facebook post here, jaredjamestoday.com/business plan. And you're going to put your numbers in. The actual business plan, the 15-page one that is also given to you as a download, helps you come up with your numbers for the previous year. If you're a new agent, talk to your broker or local agent and use some averages and go below that, right? Just figure below average just in case. And then when you're above average, because you're smart enough to get on a training like this, you'll do even better, okay? But all you're going to do is you're going to put in your numbers. I'm going to make stuff up here just so we can get to what actually matters. And I'm going to say, hey, I want to make $350,000 next year, okay? I'm going to say my average commission last year was $7,500. It's going to tell me I need 47 transactions to make that happen, okay? I'm going to say that in the previous year, I did 25 listings, or I went on 25 listing appointments, I should say. I'm going to say I listed 15 of them and I sold 13 of them, okay? It's telling me that my closing percentage is just about 50%. Now, if you can't see this completely clear, don't worry about it. I'm only spending a couple minutes here, and you're going to get a copy of it anyway, so it doesn't matter. It says this year I want to sell blank number of listings. Well, I'm going to say out of the 47, I want 32 of them to be listings, okay? That's telling me I need 62 listing appointments this year in order to make that happen. Now, the previous year, potential buyers, let's just say same thing. We'll say that I met with 25, worked with 15, and sold to 13, right? Now, how many do I want to work with? Well, if I need 47 transactions and 32 of them are going to be listings, well, then 15 of them need to be buyers, okay? Now it's telling me I need 62 listing appointments and I need 29 buyer appointments. In whole, this is the only number that matters to me right here. This is it. It's telling me based on the numbers that I'm putting in, I need this many appointments, 8 per month, and I need 2 per week, okay? Think about that for a second. 8 per month, 2 per week. That, when you think about it, that is something I can focus on. That is a tangible number. That is, no matter how many hours I work over here, when I go to you and say, where are you at for this year? And you guess your GCI, this is something I actually have control over. I need 2 appointments per week to hit my goal of 47 transactions. If I only had a 50% closing rate, hopefully many of you are students, you've got a higher closing rate, but just using low numbers here. Think about that. 2 a week. Think about how busy so many of you are. Think about how many people you meet with. Think about how many things you do, how many late hours you do, and all you need to stay on track is 2. And the beauty in that is that idea of only needing 2, right? That structure, which a lot of you run from because you're agents and you don't want structure. That structure is actually what gives you freedom, okay? Because what happens is that you know that with what you do for this week, a certain amount of the actions you take, a certain amount of the strategies you follow need to fall in line with having the ability to get you appointments. So that means I've got this many hours of prospecting, this many hours of reaching out to my past clients, this many, like all of that. That means that there is time in my schedule focused on getting those 2. So it's not number of transactions. It's not number of GCI, uncontrollable. It's 2 and I'm good for the week. And sometimes Tuesday at 10 a.m., you're going to book 2 appointments by then because you put time in your calendar to specifically and proactively book appointments, and you're going to be done on Tuesday. And you can do whatever you want with the rest of your week. You can answer emails, reply to people, go look at, investment opportunity, whatever you want. Sometimes it's going to be Friday at 3 p.m. and you're going to realize you've only booked 1 appointment, okay? And you're going to know, hey, I'm not on track because this is a controllable factor. I need to do things right now that get me to that second appointment. Because when you sit around and guess, where am I at for GCI? Where am I at for my, how many closings have I had? And you're guessing, that's how you get surprised. That's how you ride the roller coaster of real estate. But when it's very practical, very tangible, and you know the exact number of the lead measure you need, of the process you need, which is those number of appointments, watch the difference it makes in keeping you on track. And in many cases, keeping you ahead of schedule of where you need to be. It's a boring practice, but my God, does it work, okay? So the first thing I'm going to tell you is above and beyond anything else, the first thing that we focus on is that we need to get clear on the benchmarks that matter, okay? That's number 1, and that's available to all of you. The next one I want to talk about is we've got to have a plan for predictable business, okay? Keyword there, predictable business, okay? What does that actually mean? Well, let's talk about this. I'm going to show you guys a little slide here, and you're going to let me know. Well, you can't let me know, but this will be showing up in a second here. Here we go. Here's our slides. Let me pull this up so you all can see it. Okay. I've been covering this everywhere I go lately, but I want to go a little bit more deep dive on this, okay? These are the 5 ways to get new customers. Now, you can come up with some other ways, whatever, but these are our 5 basic ways, okay? What we need to do is we need to go deep dive into which one of these or multiple of these, depending on your structure, am I going to follow on a consistent basis, okay? So the first one we have is just prospecting, okay? It's proactively reaching out to other people. It's amazing how powerful the word is, the mouth is, right? It's a closed mouth doesn't get fed, right? It's that line. It's amazing how powerful it is to actually say what it is you want, to actually talk to people. And one of the things we've been talking about on a regular basis lately is we've been talking about, the idea of saying the right words at the right time to the right people and saying it enough times, right? And the verbiage that we've been using, that all of us need to use, and we need to use it in a lot of different ways, and you need to figure out in your structure how that's happening, whether that's happening through flyers, whether that's happening through video, whether that's happening through, whatever it is, hey, can you do me a favor? If you or anyone you know is even considering selling, can you please let me know right away? I may be able to sell their home without it ever hitting the market, okay? Now, that verbiage can be used when you have a buyer in a neighborhood. So you go and you have a buyer go look at a neighborhood, and now you either send out that letter that our students have to the neighborhood, letting them know that that buyer looked at the house and it wasn't the right fit for them, but what they're looking for is, and now that goes out to them and says, hey, I've got a buyer ready, willing, and able to go. Unfortunately, it wasn't the perfect fit for them. What they're looking for is just about every type of house in this neighborhood. That's how you describe it. As I'm sure you're not surprised, they absolutely love this neighborhood. Could you do me a favor? If you or anyone you know is even considering selling, can you please let me know right away? I may be able to sell their home without it ever hitting the market, right? And that goes out like an old school mailer, or that goes out where you go and knock the neighborhood. When you go and make an offer on a property, it's not accepted. I know it's too soon to talk about for some of you. Why would you not go walk that neighborhood? Why would you not go send out a letter to that neighborhood, letting the neighbors know, where statistically we know that when a listing hits the market, within 30 days, another one's going to. Within 6 months, 2 to 3 more. Why would we not go and let the neighborhood know, hey, my buyers just made an offer over on blank. Unfortunately, due to the low inventory, they were unable to get it accepted, but as I'm sure you're not surprised, they absolutely love this neighborhood. What they're looking for is blank, 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 and then the verbiage. Could you do me a favor? If you or anyone you know is even considering selling, can you please let me know right away? I may be able to sell their home without it ever hitting the market. You've got to get that verbiage down, guys. That's called a pro. I'm not struggling when I say it because I'm a pro. That's who's going to win in this market, right? When you make those videos for your buyers, not sometimes, but every time, because consistency is undefeated. And you make that video every time you have a buyer in an area, whatever area, you make a video for that buyer. You pay to promote it on Facebook and Instagram and YouTube, and it goes out to the area and says, hey, everybody, just want to let you know I've got a buyer looking in blank, blank area, looking for a 3 to 4 bedroom, 1,500, 2,000 square foot home in the so-and-so school district. Hey, can you do me a favor? If you or anyone you know is even considering selling, could you please let me know right away? I may be able to sell their home without it ever hitting the market. Hear that verbiage, guys. You got to get that down because this is a pros market. So decide which of the 5 is going to be the one that you focus on. Prospecting is one. And guys, in our coaching program, we have a million different ways to prospect, but you don't want to do it a million different ways. You need to pick 1 or 2 and be consistent because consistency is undefeated. The second option, you make content that attracts people to you. We'll talk about that a little bit later. Number 3, you run paid ads. Now, look, not enough of you are leveraging the world that we actually live in today, where you can be so specific. I'm going to nerd out for a second, and some of you will get this, and some of you are just going to move on and not even think about it. But the numbers of you who aren't doing this shows you just how little it takes to get ahead. Okay, if I was in your marketplace and I was trying to take over your marketplace, I would shoot a bunch of different content videos. And at the end of this today, guys, by the way, I'm going to give you slide after slide after slide that has like 50 different types of content you can be creating. Okay, for those of you who don't know what to create. Okay, and I would create a few different videos of content in my area. And I would go play those videos in my area and I would see which ones were effective, okay? So I would do something where I talked about, best way to sell your home. I would do a thing about best way to find the home of your dreams. I would do those things. The world we live in today of digital marketing, did you know you can put those up on YouTube or wherever? You can then go and see who watched more than 50% of your video, a very specific video. So now you know this group of people watched over 50% of a video on buying a home. This people over here, these people, watched over 50% of a video on selling a home. Do you know that you can retarget and you can now create an ad that will focus on those people specifically? So if I put up a video on buying a home, And then I go and I pull, and you can just go Google or YouTube, how to pull, how many people, how to create an ad and target people that watched more than 50% of a video. It'll be a minute-long video you can all learn how to do, okay? But I'm going higher level today. If I put up a video about buying a home, I can then go create an ad, and I can do a very specific ad about find out about properties before they hit the market, or find out about investment, or find out about whatever's going to be the thing that they're after. And I can create that ad where they've got to put in their information to enter my database. So I now have access to them, but I can target that ad to only the people who watched more than 50% of a video on buying a house. So I know they're super interested. That's called being targeted. I can take a video on selling a home locally and then go create something that says, hey, have me come in, give you a free valuation of your home. And if you list your home, whether it's for me or not, I'll pay for a professional photographer. And now I can target that ad to people who watched more than 50% of a video on selling a home. Do you see how much more specific that is? Do you see how much more targeted that is? That's the smart getting niche that so many of you that are going to win in this market are going to start doing. And the rest of you are going to flounder in hope. And just going to keep doing what everybody else is doing, living in the sea of sameness and hoping to get different results. But the truth of the matter is, you can't get extraordinary results by being average. You can't get extraordinary results by doing what everybody else is doing, okay? The fourth one, I can leverage third parties, right? I can leverage third parties. Okay, guys, every one of you should be doing this. Like, again, we'll get you these slides, but here's 20 different places that you can sign up for that literally you don't pay anything, you don't whatever, unless they give you business that actually works with you. Okay. Why would we not be on every one of these sites? There's no risk. It's more business. Okay. Now we're going to talk about in a minute here the right way to do this so that it actually gains us long-term business and not just give up a piece of it as a referral in the beginning and then it never happens again, right? If you handle it correctly, then you know that my theory and what I say to our students is there's no such thing as a past client. We need to eliminate that verbiage, right? There's only active clients and prospective clients, right? There's no past client. They don't close and then get put out into free agency. No such thing as a past client. That's a dumb term to use, okay? That's not what we're doing. Your lifetime value, most of the value is post-sale. So we have active clients, which are people who are actively buying and selling from us, or people who are actively prospecting for someone who will buy or sell from us because of the way that we've stayed in relationship, we've stayed in communication, right? That's what we're looking for there. And then we have prospective clients, which is really everyone else, okay? So when we talk about those third-party sites, you all should be on them. You all should be getting leads from them, but now it's a matter of what you do with them after, which we're going to talk about in a second, okay? And then last but not least, I don't need to show it back up there again, but last but not least is your referrals, okay? And the thing I would tell you when it comes to referrals that a lot of us need to really pay attention to is we talk about database, we talk about sphere of influence, we talk about whatever, but we need to remember that it's called sphere of influence. Just having a sphere, just having people in your database does not mean they're a sphere of influence, right? What are you doing with them that allows you to be influential? If you just have them in your database, that's not enough. What are you actively doing to educate them, to lead them, to market to them? What are you doing there, right? We have a big database, but the reason why we're on this right now with over 1,000 people on and thousands of people will watch this all over the world and tens of thousands follow on social and otherwise is the word, he's an influencer. Well, what does that mean? Having a bunch of people doesn't mean you're an influencer unless you influence them to something. So why am I putting out content on a regular basis on Instagram and Facebook and YouTube and TikTok and podcast and all these things? Because I'm looking at that going, okay, how do I influence in a positive way? How do I lead them to what it is that they want to get to? How do I do that? And you in the same way have to understand that you are an influencer locally. The reason it's called sphere of influence is because you're supposed to have influence. But if you don't do anything, if you just sit around, if you don't actually send anything, if you don't actually educate, if you don't actually create content, if you don't actually do any of this stuff, guess what? Nobody's influencing. That's just a sphere. That's just people crowded together with nowhere to go, right? Ready for someone to pull the fire alarm and get them out of there. Don't forget the influence part, okay? Number three, the third thing I want us to focus on. I did a big focus of this at our advance this past year, and I can't explain just how important this is. And that is number three, if you're writing this down, but it is in the slides that you guys will get. You've got to own the land that you're building on. You've got to own the land that you're building on. Think about what I'm saying right now. I want to show you guys this because I think it's so drastically important for all of us to understand here. I'm going to show you the slides again. Again, you guys will all have copies of all of this, okay? So I just went over this, and when I talk about owning the land that you're building on, none of you would build a house on land you don't own, because that would be ludicrous. It'd be stupid. Nobody would do that, right? And yet it's what we do on a regular basis. You know, this was never more true to me. I was watching there was a show on Showtime, which I also learned at the advance that I guess nobody else was watching other than me. And it's called Super Pumped. And it was about the creation of Uber. And basically the founder of Uber had built up Uber to be this massive conglomerate. It was the #1 app on the App Store, on the Apple App Store and everything. And literally was almost gone overnight. Why? Because they were doing things with geo-targeting and such that broke the Apple rules. And Apple found out about it. And Tim Cook, the CEO of Apple, met with the founder Travis of Uber. And he was going to pull Uber off of the Apple Store. And overnight, Uber was going to go from, at the time, the #1 app on the App Store to non-existent. The company was going to go away overnight. Why? Because they didn't own the land that they were being sold on, right? Like, they did not own the App Store. So if Apple said, you're off, they were gone. Didn't matter what consumers say, didn't matter whatever. And I saw that, and I started thinking about you guys, and I started thinking about our businesses. And I started thinking about how many of us right now have a business that is running off of land we don't own, meaning it's coming from other sources. And if that source was to get cut off, we're screwed, we're done. But let me show you what I really mean by this to kind of drive this home to you, okay? I'm going to show these slides to you one more time, and take a look at this right here. The difference between rented land and owned land is not the source, it's the intent. What most of you are doing right now is that you are getting sources from whatever, third parties and Zillows and these other third parties I met, and social and content and all this kind of stuff. And your only goal of it is to get to a closing, okay? And then you restart the whole process and try to figure out how to go back down and figure it out and, you know, whatever. That is rented land. Because if you're only there for the one time, if you're only there for the date and not the marriage, then as soon as that source is cut off, your business is cut off, right? But it's about the intent. Meaning, if you took that same source, if you took those third parties I showed you, if you took social, if you took Zillow, if you took Realtor.com, if you took all of these other kind of things, and instead of going to a closing, the intent of that funnel that you throw everything into is down below there. You can see it's database. If instead the intent is database, now you have owned land. Because you're not going to pay those sources over and over and over every single time you go and do something, right? You're only going to do it that one time. And so the intent is, let's get to the closing, yes. But the real intent is, how do I get them into my database? Because the database is where you are direct to consumer. That was what I changed about our company years ago. I stopped closing at events and stopped trying to close people into getting into coaching or marketing or transaction coordination or whatever. And I just said, hey, you want free stuff? Send an email to yes@jaredjamestoday.com and we'll get you everything. And what did that do? That put them in our database, which is where all the value was, right? And so how do you take that concept and really work it? Well, first off, I want you to understand something. A database is not your Gmail contacts. A database is not, an Excel sheet that you understand, right? It's not a database. A database is, whether you're using, Wise Agent or you're using BombBomb or you're using one of these other places, but there's constant interaction that's going on. There's segregation of knowing who your top people are and when was the last time you touched and what did you talk about. And there's a system in place. There's follow-ups. It's a place where leads and clients and everything are automatically funneled into. And what I want you to keep in mind is that right now, the average person buys or sells once every about 10 years, which means that if you have a database of 1,000 people, think about this. During a time when everybody's uncertain about the future and where are leads going to come from, where are transactions going to come from? For those of you that are building on rented land and all of your sources are coming from other places and you have not effectively managed your database, you should be worried, okay? Because it can be cut off like that. You're going to ride the roller coaster, okay? But for the rest of you that are now going to hear this and get a little different, understand that the average person buys or sells once every 10 years. I think that's about to go down, by the way, because a lot of people were not happy with their purchase during COVID. But if you have 1,000 people in your database and the average person buys once every 10 years, that means 10% of your database. That means if you have 1,000 people in your database and 50% of the people who are going to move are going to buy and sell, and 50% are going to buy or sell, because some are buying and just, getting, and some already own a house. They've got to sell it and get another. That means that sitting under your nose in your database is 150 transactions. Think about that. That means that sitting under your nose while you're chasing everything else in the next 90 days is 37.5 transactions. Think about that for a second. That is astonishing. And yet we spend all this effort chasing and trying to get stuff, and when it's sitting right under our nose, based on how we leverage our database, based on how we communicate, based on the content that we send to our database, simply because we don't know, what content to actually send to those people, okay? Think about it even further. 1,000 is small. What if you had by the way, guys, I did a podcast. I have a podcast called Today with Jared James. I know, very creative name. But I have a podcast called Today with Jared James. And I did a podcast, I forget what episode it is, you all can go look it up, where I talked about how to build your list, how to build your database. That's where all of the power is, okay? You can go watch that for free. Go listen to that for free. Follow those steps, build your database. The goal of every transaction is not the closing. It's the database. It's the lifetime value of that person, not the one time, right? So when you think about that though, what if you had 5,000 people in your database? If they buy or sell once every 10 years, which means 10% of your database is going to buy or sell, 10% are going to, and half of those are going to buy and sell. Think about that for a second. That means you have 750 transactions sitting under your nose right now in your database, being ignored, acting like free agents, ready to go use someone else because you don't know how to effectively market to them. You don't know how to effectively communicate to them. You don't know how to effectively maintain relationship with them. Think about that. Like, it's insane, right? That means that you have 187.5 transactions sitting under your nose right now, like right in the next 90 days. What else are you chasing, guys? Database, database, database. What does that mean? For those of you that were at the Advance in Nashville this last October, hopefully a lot of you will be there this October as well in 2023. What did you hear from the students we put on stage that were crushing it time after time after time in their interviews? I mean, we wanted the really cool stuff. We wanted the tech did this and this app did this. And yet, what we saw over and over again? They talked about client events. They talked about how effective their client events are. Because client events create community. They allow them to see other people. Go into our group. We have a group right here on Facebook called Jared James Coaching. We'll put a link for my crew that's watching right now. Put that link to the group in the chat right now. You need to be a part of that. You can go in there and search client event and see all the different events people are doing. Learn from them, glean from their ideas. They've got vendors paying for them. They've got, breakfast with Santa. You invite a local professional photographer. They don't cost you anything. They just take pictures. But anybody who wants a copy of those pictures has to leave their name and email. Now, the photographer's building their database. You're building your database because they're bringing in their friends. They're bringing in their family, creates community, makes them want to be a part of something. We're not leveraging this kind of stuff enough because it seems old school, right? But your database is about more than just email marketing and content. It's also about creating that community. How well are you creating that community? Because one thing I know about the world we live in today is that the bigger and the bigger that it becomes, right? The more people I'm followed by on social, the more whatever, the smaller we can make it, the more we'll grow, the better we'll do, okay? The bigger it becomes, the smaller you can make it, the more you'll succeed, okay? When a lot of you ask me, how come I answer every DM on Instagram, or how come I answer whatever? It's because as big as that community is, when I can give a little emoji back to someone, or I can answer somebody with a thanks, or I can do whatever. What I did was I took that big community, and for that person, I made it very small. And for how big the world is and the bigger that it gets, I'm telling you right now, those of you that are listening right now, if you can find ways to make your community, your world for them smaller, you will win, okay? And database. It's the most unsexy thing to talk about. But you know what's even more unsexy? Being broke in real estate, okay? We want to win in this business, which means you got to build community, which means you've got to focus on that database. But what's one of the main ways that you focus on database? It's number 4, okay? Number 1, we talked about get clear on your benchmarks that matter. Number 2, we talked about having a plan for predictable business, picking 1 or 2 things. Consistency is undefeated, going all in on those. Number 3, we talked about owning the land that you're building on, right? Owning the land that you're building on. And number 4, which you've heard me talk about over and over, but some of you are finally going to get serious. You got to build your content library, okay? Again, don't just listen to what I'm saying. Watch what I'm doing. And I know a lot of you did not get into real estate to be content creators. I get that. You know, I've been telling this story lately. My brother is a mechanic. And about 7-8 years ago, we had a conversation. And when cars started switching over to being fixed by computers. And he's like, Jared, I didn't get into mechanicking, even though I know that's not a word, to learn how to use a computer. And I'm like, you're right, you didn't. But if you want to keep mechanicking, you better learn how to use a computer, because that's the world we now live in. And you may not have gotten into real estate because you wanted to be a content creator, but if you want to keep being in real estate, you're now a content creator, because it's how people are finding you. They're finding you on here. They're finding you on this thing, a computer. They're finding you before they ever, you know, I said this at the advance and I'd never said it before, but we do not live in a world where first impressions are first impressions anymore. By the time, you know that old saying, you only get one chance to make a first impression? By the time people meet you in person, I really want you to think about this. If you're doing it correctly and you're picking up a lot of new people, right? I always say our job in this industry is to get people to know us, K-N-O-W, so they have a chance to know us, N-O. Our job is to give them a chance to know us, K-N-O-W, so they have a chance to know us, N-O. They have a chance to say no to us because we created so much visibility with them, right? And so when you start to think about that from a video perspective and a first impression perspective, if you're doing it right, by the time people meet you in person for the first time, it is not the first time they met you, okay? Because they've already been watching you online. So by the time they meet you, it's your first time. It's not their first time. That is not their first impression. You're not even getting a chance to have a first impression of them because they had it already online. And if you weren't online, they went to someone else and you never even had the opportunity, because visibility trumps ability. You know, the market isn't the only thing that's shifting right now. Consumers are shifting, okay? How they pick an agent is shifting. All of these things are shifting right now. 73% of sellers said that when they picked an agent to list their property, the first thing they did was went online and saw who was active with video. 73%. For those of you that aren't active with content and video and those things right now, think about how many people aren't even getting to you. They're not even giving you a shot because they're going there first, having their first impression, and they're moving on. How much is that worth to you? If I paid you 80 grand this year to do more video, would you do it? Yeah, you would. And yet you're costing yourself way more than that by not being active with your content. 81% of consumers said that they make a decision after watching a video. Consumers have a 68% chance of using an agent in your marketplace that did exactly between 0 and 2 transactions, because they didn't even know you existed, because this is how they find you. Because what did we say at the advance? In absence of brand, people go to the bland. They're like, there's nothing here. I guess I'll just go. Here's an agent who did something, whatever. There it is. You got to be an option, guys. Stop eliminating yourself before you ever begin. 82% of all internet traffic in 2022 was video. That's a 15x jump. 15x, guys, from only 5 years ago. To put that in perspective, the average consumer right now watches, listen to this, 3 hours and 29 minutes of video a day. The average consumer watches 3 hours and 29 minutes of video a day. Some of you heard that and said, that's it? Because you watch so much more. But video is what matters right now, okay? It's all that matters right now. And the beauty of video is that it's the gift that keeps on giving. See, I'm going to shoot this right now. I want you guys to think about this. I'm going to make this video right now. And we've got thousands of people on here. We've got tons of comments going on. We've got all that other stuff going on, right? But then this video is going to end. And there's going to be a life cycle after this video where it will get thousands or tens of thousands of views with people who weren't here right now that I've never seen, that I won't have to do any more work for. I won't reshoot the video. It's just the video, the gift that will keep on giving. Or better yet, there are people right now that will watch this over the next 2 months because they're in real estate. And this same video 3 months from now is going to be watched by people who weren't in real estate right now, but in 3 months will be. And I'll be opened up to a whole new market with the same video I created back now and never had to recreate. Think about your market. When you make videos for buyers or for sellers, there's a certain percent of your market that relates to it right now, and they watch it right now. And then 3 months from now, that same video doesn't apply to them anymore. But guess what does? A whole new group of buyers and sellers that pop up in your area that now watch your video again, that now reach out to you again. Why? Because it's the gift that keeps on giving. And our consumer, just like my consumer, is constantly changing. Yours is constantly changing. And the best one to do that on, by the way, is YouTube. YouTube has the longest lasting lifespan of any video that you do, right? You ever gone on YouTube and then you get stuck in that YouTube vortex with the suggested videos over here? You go on there to watch a video or two, and next thing you know, you finish up and you've got a slight beard and a ball named Wilson because you got pulled in by videos that were created years ago. Give your consumers the opportunity to do that. And I'm going to talk about what kind of content and such. We'll cover that in a second. I'm going to give you guys slides with all of that, okay? And when it comes to that same video, that one video you create, just like I'm going to do with this video, I'm going to upload this as an MP4 and I'm going to upload it to YouTube so it has a lifespan. But then I'm going to organically upload it separately to places like Instagram. I don't need to do Facebook because it's already there. But you don't take a YouTube link, put it on Facebook. They need to live separately. Allow them, upload them separately to Facebook, separately to Instagram, separately to YouTube. And when you put them on Facebook and Instagram, don't just upload them to Facebook and Instagram. They have to be Reels, R-E-E-L-S, okay? Reels. Reels get 40% more views than regular videos on Facebook and Instagram. So it's not enough just to do it. You got to be smart about it, okay? And we know this is where people are coming from. And yet, what does the data tell us? It's insane. 76% of agents aren't even on YouTube. 48% of agents are not on Instagram. They're still trying to figure out if Instagram is going to last, right? 95% of agents are not on TikTok, the #1 app in the world right now, because they still think it's just a bunch of little girls dancing around. Guys, when I tell you that it takes this little to separate yourself, it's probably less than that. Because if you look around your office, if you think about the agents in your area and who is really being consistent with what's being posted and putting content up and giving their consumers a chance to actually listen to them, it's very, very small, the amount of people who are actually doing it. And what that should do is that should encourage you, because it takes so little to separate yourself from everybody else. I'm not gonna go over this with you right now. I'm gonna give you a couple of hacks, but here's an idea, guys. I'm gonna give this to you of all different types of content that you could be doing on a regular basis. Again, not gonna go over them right now, but we're gonna, at the end, when I give you guys the slides and everything, you guys will get a chance to actually see what that is, and you'll be able to take that and have a game plan for what to actually create. But I'm gonna give you a couple of hacks, okay? The #1 way you create content, which I've said over and over again, and some of you have listened and some of you hadn't, is just answer the questions people ask you. whatever questions people text you, whatever questions your consumers email you, that is what you post as content. It's honestly that simple. Like, I don't know how to make it any more simple than that, okay? Another great way, and I want you guys to write this down, and if somebody on my team is paying attention right now, put this in the comments below. Answerthepublic.com. Answerthepublic.com. If you go on answerthepublic.com and you type in, find a realtor, look what this does. It gives you 317 different results, all on questions that are the top searched Google questions in your area that people ask on Google. So if they're asking it on Google, what do you think you need to do? Make a video about it, right? So let's just look here. When should you find a realtor? Why choose a local? What is the purpose of having? These are all things. How to find a realtor for buying. These are the exact questions that people are asking on Google. And so the algorithm, if you go and you make a video and you title it that exact question that's being asked, it's telling you that's what people are asking, and more people are going to go watch it. Okay. Another thing you can do is if you go on Google, you type in top agents in blank, be very local, top agents in blank, how to get an agent, how to sell your house, whatever it happens to be on Google. Don't worry about the results. But about halfway down the page, when you do that, there's going to be a section that shows you questions people ask in relation to that question you asked. And what those questions are from Google, it's telling you their algorithm. Here's what we give people search results for. You need to go make videos with those exact titles, those exact questions as your titles. By the way, same thing on YouTube. You want to talk about hacks right now? Like, this is how you do it, guys. Go on YouTube, type in best agent in, best way to get the most money in your local area, whatever that, be very localized with your search, right? 3 ways to get more money for your house in, be very local. When you search that, don't worry about the results. But over to the side in YouTube, they're going to have the recommendations. Go look and see the local videos on the side that have 43,842 views that are local. And what you're going to do is you're going to see what YouTube is sending people to, what the exact algorithm is sending people to. And then you need to go make that exact video with that exact title. And what you're going to do is you're going to siphon views off of what the algorithm is telling you. This is what we're promoting. Guys, this is the next level stuff. It's not enough to just say, yeah, I'm going to start doing some content. As I said, we're going to give you a thing with all the different content and all the different ideas for you, all the slides. You'll have 50 plus ways to be creating content. This is the next level stuff where you literally just go search, follow the algorithm. What is it? What responses is it giving? Go make videos with those names. Go to answerthepublic.com, type in a search, type in a word, type in a localized, whatever. It'll show you all the things that people Google. That's next level how you get ahead, guys. That's how you're going to have an advantage from watching this today, while so many other people in your area should have been on here and weren't. You got to get smarter. But remember, it always happens in 2 phases. Right here. Right now, you're getting inspired to do it. But the next level is the physical. You have to actually follow through. Why? Because everyone's motivated when they're not tired. Okay? When the actual work comes, that's who you figure out who's who, And I get asked also with this content all the time, should I do a podcast? Yes, but not for the reason you think. A podcast for you locally as an agent is not just another way for you to pump out content. Yes, it can be that. What a podcast actually does for you is it gets you in front of influential people who wouldn't give you the time of day, okay? So a podcast, if you have a builder that you've been trying to get in with but won't give you the time of day, or you've got, whatever, some kind of very influential local person, a podcast can play to their ego, where they won't return your call, they won't go to lunch with you, but if you contact them and say, hey, you got a lot of really great information to offer people, you're a really bright person, like whatever, would you come on my podcast and let me interview you? Watch how that person, that builder, that whatever it is, that community org who wouldn't give you the time of day, now you played to their ego and they're like, shoot, yeah, like that's, yeah, I'd love to come on and give people what I do. I'd love to share my I'd love to. Now you're going to get to sit down on a podcast with them, talk to them for an hour plus, create relationship, get to know them. And now that podcast, regardless of how many views it got, allowed you to use a tool to reach out to influential people who wouldn't give you the time of day. That's a little nugget for you. Some of you are going to pick that up and some of you are not. Okay. So at the end of the day, guys, it's really simple. Number one, get clear on the benchmarks that matter. Number two, have a plan for predictable business. Pick it and get consistent. Number three, own the land you're building on. What does that mean? Database, database, database. That's the goal, not the closing. It's the database. No such thing as past clients. Number four, build your content library. For God's sakes, I've been saying this now for years, guys. Someone's going to do it in your area and they're going to dominate because it's the gift that keeps on giving. Okay. On top of all of this, we need to understand that there are opportunities right now. I shot an Instagram video on this and I talked about the $29 trillion in equity sitting around in our country right now that's going to get invested somewhere. I talked about the 25% of dissatisfied people with the process during COVID that bought and sold. 80% of those people felt like they compromised when they bought a home during COVID. What do you think is going to happen with those people? When the market slows and there's less offers and they're going to start looking for the property they actually wanted because 80% of them got into a property they felt forced into because they just couldn't win a bid. We have to look at those opportunities. Our marketing has to be created in a way that it goes after those people. It speaks to them. It's their voice. That's what we need to be looking at, right? And when we talk about the coming year, we got to know our numbers, guys. And it's not difficult. We don't need to know every single, full page and this, whatever. How many appointments? How many appointments a week does it take? What's your schedule look like to get you there? Have you and your coach made a plan of what it's going to be? What's the marketing technique going to be? What is the infrastructure going to look like? How are you going to scale? How are you going to service your people better? Have you gotten intentional? You got to get intentional. You got to decide what's acceptable right now and build an environment that supports it. You can't say I'm going to start eating better and then run in a crowd who eats McDonald's 3 times a day. You can't say I'm going to run a better business. I'm going to take care of my family. I'm going to scale. I'm going to start having other people help me with things. I'm going to delegate. I'm going to, whatever, and then be surrounded by a chorus of people who don't support that, right? That's what your coach is for. That's what your Jared James community is for, right? That they're after that same, that's why it's so powerful being at the advance with those like-minded people, right? So get with your coach, figure that out, understand the market has shifted, but pros are going to win, guys. No, pros are going to win, right? When you look at it, nobody's in the World Cup right now because they winged it, right? I saw yesterday when the U.S. won, let's go, that for the first time, the coach put in the goalie that hadn't played yet in any of the games. But he did it because in the Premier League that he's in, the team he was playing against tends to the teams that they play against tend to run a higher defense, a more attacking defense. And that was the type of team that we were playing yesterday. And he was like, you know what? That's strategy. He's used to that. He's used to that kind of attack. We're going to put him in there for this, right? That's called strategy. Nobody's there because they winged it. And nobody in the market that we're heading into right now is gonna get what they want because they winged it. You got to get specific on your strategy. You got to get specific on what it means daily, right? You got to get specific on how many appointments that means, right? Here's what I want to make. Here's what it's going to take. And here's how I'm going to commit to do that. Why? Because I've said it over and over again. Consistency is undefeated. What do we say? Everyone's motivated when they're not tired. Now's the time when you're not tired to take advantage of that motivation and say, what's it going to take? What's it look like if I get there? What's it look like in this coming market right now where everything's changing and everything's shifting and everything's, whatever, and everybody's going to start blaming the market and everybody's going to start blaming the news for doing this and there's going to be these shining stars. And these shining stars during this time are going to be the ones going, I don't know what you guys are talking about. They're going to be me in 2008. And it's going to be because we had a plan, because we didn't wing it. We didn't ride that roller coaster. Look, for those of you that follow online, you know that I do something on my stories almost every day where I say, did you sweat today? # did you sweat today? And one of the big reasons I do that is because of the statement I said before. Everyone's motivated when they're not tired. I don't feel like doing that. Someone sent me a message the other day and they were like, I don't know how you do it. I don't know how you have the motivation to do that every day. I don't know how you, and I wrote them back and I'm like, motivation is crap. I don't do that because I feel motivated every day. I do it because I committed to it. I set a plan, I committed to it, and I'm committed to doing what I said I would do. Whether I feel like it, whether I don't feel like it, I am not run by my feelings. And the last thing I'll say to you guys before I cover some just other stuff with you is, and I said this at the advance, and it's just so true. We're at a time right now with great opportunity. And you guys are so fortunate to be in the real estate business where my God, sky is the limit, right? Like it's just unreal, the opportunity that you have in front of you. But if you don't understand that it's not just for you, you're not going to push yourself, right? I said to these people at the advance, I said, look, winners don't look to get everything they can. They look to give everything they have. They don't look to get everything they have. They can. They look to give everything that they can, right? That's what we do. It's a different mentality. I don't want to grow so that I'm bigger. I don't want to grow so that more people see me. I want to grow because I want to have more impact, right? And a lot of you need to switch your mentality right now from trying to make a living to trying to make an impact, okay? And that's never going to happen on your own. Nobody you had a poster of in your bedroom growing up got there alone. There was always a team. There was always a structure around them. They just were the face of that. But nobody gets anywhere all by themselves. They need a team. I'm no different. You're no different. But we have to face that reality, okay? So guys, put in I'm going to answer some questions here, but my team, again, you can put it in the comments, but I believe it's up above as well. I want you guys to download that business plan, download that digital plan, jaredjamestoday.com/business plan. And I'm just going to be flat out honest with you because I'm in a position where I believe this more than ever. Many of you watching right now need a coach, okay? And if my voice doesn't speak to you, then go to another program. But I'm telling you, we're heading into a pros market. And you need a coach going where we're going. You need somebody helping you set the plan, holding you accountable. So I hope you guys will take the opportunity. There's a link right on that business plan page where you can just do a consult and figure out what's for you. But I want you to be one of those success stories, one of those testimonials we're talking about moving forward. And we can't do that if you don't give us a chance to help you, okay? Everybody on here deserves a TC. You should have a transaction coordinator. Infrastructure matters with the market we're heading into, okay? There's a link to that as well. We've got marketers that can help you with your social and everything. I want to help you guys however I can. If that means that you become a client, like so many of you will, that's fantastic. And for the rest of you, if that means I just keep answering your questions on social, go to connectwithjared.com and I keep answering those. That's fine by me too, guys. But my mission here is to help as many of you as possible get what you want as well. So keep asking those questions, guys. I'm going to right now go into the chat and I'm going to try to keep up here and answer some questions that may have come in. So give me a second here while I pull this up. We have a lot of people on here. God, we have over 1,000 comments. We have over 1,000 comments here. So I'm on a bit of a delay. I'm a little bit ahead of you guys. So just start putting stuff in there. Christina wrote, highly recommend the coaching, best money I've ever spent. Thank you, Christina. That's awesome. I appreciate that, by the way. Where is the link with the slides? Oh, good question. Good question. The slides have already been uploaded into our Facebook group called Jared James Coaching. If one of my team could go grab the link from our Facebook group, that would be great, and post it in the comments. But if you go into Facebook in a separate page and type in Jared James Coaching, there's one of the drop downs says files. If you go into the files, it's the 2022 business plan training. Those slides have already been uploaded. You can download those from that group, okay? They've been posted in there also. They'll be in the main feed. So the slides are in the Jared James Coaching Facebook group. Go check that out. You guys can have that. Okay. Question. God, that went right by. Oh, what do you think we should use to do a marketing plan? Okay, so first off, our students have a marketing plan that they use. We have an actual marketing plan. I think we might have uploaded that marketing plan template into the Jared James Coaching group as well on Facebook. Guys, if you go into the files on the Facebook group, Jared James Coaching, there's a ton of resources there. I believe the marketing plan is there as well. So we have one for you. So you guys can just go check that out. Students, get with your coaches. It's not enough just to have it. You got to actually know how to use it and you got to actually follow it. That's really where the magic sauce is. So get with your coaches, make sure you're filling that out. Don't wait to see, like right now, whether you just did pies for Thanksgiving, whether you're doing a mail out, for the holidays, it's not a wait and see if you're busy thing. It should be planned out a year in advance. Okay. So check that out. How much time per week would you suggest spending on video content? Honestly, for most of you, you can get away with an hour or two a week. And then you go to a place like Upwork, upwork.com, upwork.com, or Fiverr, fiverr.com. We had people up on our stage at the Advance, the Jared James Advance in October, that were telling you time after time, they shoot the video or the long form, they send it to an editor, right? You've got like Facebook, YouTube, Instagram editors. You can look those up on these sites, upwork.com and fiverr.com, and they'll literally create everything for you. They'll make them jazzy. They'll put the captions in there for you. They'll make them look good. So really, I would say that you should be spending about an hour a week. Some of you more, some of you less, but you can get away with that. An hour or two a week is completely fine. But again, it's just marketing in the world we live in today, okay? So great question. And by the way, if I miss you or the questions are kind of flowing in here furiously, like fast and furious, I guess we'll say, just post it again because I'm trying to see them as they come in. Good problems to have, guys, but we again have a lot of people on here, okay? Let me see here. What else do we have? Where do you house it to see it often? I'm not sure what you're talking about. Where do you house what to see it often? If you're talking about content, your content should mainly be going to YouTube, where it lives forever, and then Facebook and Instagram Reels, right? Those are the places they're going to go. I'm a big believer also in TikTok, but I don't want to go over a lot of your heads yet because a lot of you still aren't at that point yet. You're ready to go that. But when people say to me, like, which social site should I be on? Asking me which one you should be on is like asking which one article of clothing are you going to wear today? Okay. That's how it sounds. It's like just boots, but nothing else. A shirt, no pants. Like, what are we doing here? No, you got to wear the whole outfit. And that's what social is. You got to wear the whole outfit. And you have to look at the different platforms, like an alien that comes down and sees food. See, if an alien came down, they would see all of our food, pancake, steak, everything. They'd be like, oh, it's food, right? And you coming down, looking at social, all the different networks and Facebook and Instagram and YouTube and these places, you go, oh, it's all social. No, we know with food, while the alien calls it food, there's breakfast, lunch, dinner, dessert, like there's all these, and we know because we're active in it. We know that steak and potatoes is not a breakfast. We know that bacon and eggs is a breakfast. They're all food, but we know the difference because we're active. Social is just like that. It's easy to look at Facebook and Instagram and YouTube and TikTok and all these places and go, oh, it's all social. No, it's because you're not active. They're all different meals. So there's slightly different things that are on each one of them. Stories are the same, but the actual posts get a lot different. A YouTube video I do is a lot different than an Instagram reel that I do. And you only know that by getting active. So what I would recommend to you is just kind of start peeking your head in. You don't have to actually engage. Just kind of start hanging out in Instagram. Start hanging out and what's actually going on family. Facebook's more family oriented. I put things with me and my family, my boys on Facebook that I don't put on Instagram and vice versa. So you got to get active so you understand the difference that it's not all food, it's individual meals. And it's not all social, it's individual platforms, okay? Yes, on the podcast, guys. I just set up, actually at my house, the podcast stuff so we can have a bunch of new episodes coming out. So many more episodes of the podcast coming out soon, okay? Does the Reels have to be your face or can someone else be doing it for you? Well, really, you're the brand, so you'd like it to be you. The only time when it doesn't need to specifically be your face is when you're showing a community or you're interviewing someone. But don't be afraid of your face. People see your face every day, and you're doing just fine. You're doing well enough in real estate that you got on here. So don't be afraid of your face. Leverage that. It's the only face like that in the world. You know what? Anything in the world that there's one of goes for. If there's one car in the world, what it goes for. If there was one, you have one face like that, leverage it. So valuable. Let me see here, guys. The files are located if you go on Facebook, Jared James Coaching. It's a group called Jared James Coaching. The files are in there. There's a drop down. I don't know if it says more or something like that. And then it says files. All the files are in there. Okay. Again, you guys can download the business plan. You guys can, by going to jaredjamestoday.com/business plan. That link is above. You can download the business plan, download the digital plan. You can sign up for a consult for coaching, for having a marketer handle your social, your marketing stuff. Guys, everyone at the sound of my voice right now should have a TC, a transaction coordinator. There is no risk, like none. It saves you 8 to 12 hours. You only pay if they close. It makes you look better. It adds more referrals. It allows you to be the McDonald's fries where you're following a specific set of customized workflow every single time. It takes you out of doing what you're not great at, which is paperwork. It's a no-brainer. So if you go to the business plan page, there's a thing where you can get a consult for a transaction coordinator through Cleared and Closed, or just go to clearedandclosed.com. They are amazing. You will not regret it. I have been sending video snippets. Great idea. No doubt about it. Video is always the way to go, guys. It's not even close. I'm trying right now, guys, to keep up with the questions that are coming in. Like I said, they're just kind of coming in, fast and furious right now. Okay. Let me see here. Just moved to a new city. What to do with the former city? Okay. Well, first off, before I ever moved, I would have created some kind of a team or a partnership or something like that. But it's not too late, by the way, to generate some kind of a referral partner there that you make a deal with. And I would literally just start passing people to that. I wouldn't even have to tell them I'm gone, or I would say, hey, I'm splitting time here or whatever. This is my partner who actually, specializes in showing homes, or actually specializes. And I would start introducing them to that person and getting referrals on them. What I wouldn't do is just leave and then, get nothing from that point on, just completely give up on that. That would not be, what do you use for your database? Guys, we're a big fan of Wise Agent. If one of my team, in fact, you know what? I'll just write it right here in the comments. If you go to wiseagent.com/Jared James, I just put it in there, wiseagent.com/Jared James. That to me is the best database in the business, easy to use, affordable. It's got our follow-ups in it. Great for mass sending and individual, great for all the systems, many integrations with many different places. Wiseagent.com/Jared James. If you do it with the Jared James, you not only get a free trial to try it out, but you also get my follow-ups in there. So when it comes to follow-up with past clients, when it comes to follow-up with open house, when it comes to follow-up with leads, when it comes to any of that kind of stuff, it's all there. Okay. wiseagent.com/Jared James. Okay. I'm going to right now, because like I said, these comments are coming in fast and furious. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually end the training. But then I'm going to jump back in here and start answering questions. I have a feeling that I'll be answering these for days. If you want a quicker response from me, go to connectwithjared.com, connectwithjared.com. Send me a DM, a direct message on Instagram or one of these places. I'm probably going to regret saying that. We'll pull a winner, by the way, for the 2 tickets to the 2023 Jared James Advance in October in Nashville. If you haven't gone to Instagram yet and liked that photo, the one I just put up, if you haven't gone there and liked that photo and commented on it, and extra points for sharing it. If you haven't done that yet, make sure you do that. We're going to pull a winner by Friday night. We're going to give away 2 tickets here. I'm actually going to go, and right now I'm doing this. I'm going to actually pin that picture so you guys see it as one of the first things you see there. So that's being done right now. If you guys want to win that, that's going to be there for you. Outside of that, guys, it's impossible for me right now to keep up with this. Just do me a favor, though. If you enjoyed this, give it a like if you haven't already. Give it those hearts. And please hit that share button. Let's get this out to as many people as humanly possible. Hit that share button. Share it with your colleagues. Share it with the people that follow you. It would mean the world to me, guys. I'm going to check those out later and probably comment on those. But I will get to these questions as soon as humanly possible. There's over 1,000 on here now. So I'll be hitting them one by one by one. This is going to be fun. This is going to be some late nights. Appreciate you guys. And again, I can't stress this enough. I hope we get the opportunity to have as many of you as possible working alongside us, using one of our coaches, using one of our marketers, using one of our TCs, our transaction coordinators. I want you guys, if you care enough to get on and listen to my voice in a training, I want you guys to be those testimonials that we're talking about moving forward. And I'm telling you, the new market that we're heading into requires it. Okay. So I want you guys to be that. Thank you so much for being on today. It literally, I meant what I said. It means the world to me. So I love you guys. I can't wait to see so many of you. I'm going to be in Vegas this week. I'm going to be in Atlantic City this week. I'm going to be in Arkansas. I've got Dallas coming up. I've got all sorts of places. Hopefully I'll be at one of your live events coming up in the coming year. I'm trying to do a little less events, be a little more selective, but can't wait to do that. But regardless, join our community, guys. Get one of our coaches. They're absolutely amazing. And for every one of you, hope you'll make it a point to get to the 2023 Advance, the Jared James Advance in Nashville as well in October. That's going to be just amazing and a great fuel up and a motivation for so many of you guys. Thank you so much, guys. I will see you soon. Thank you. Talk to you soon.